There's a feeling that has no real reason to exist anymore, and yet almost every person alive still knows it. You're walking alone as the light fades, and something low in your spine tells you to move faster. Don't look back. Get to where it's bright. Nothing is there. There is no logical reason for the fear, and still your body floods with an old certainty that it is being watched. That feeling is not a flaw in you. It is a memory, older than your name, older than any language you speak, pressed into your nervous system by a world in which that prickle on the back of the neck was very often the only warning a person would ever receive. Because for a long part of the human story, we were not only the hunters, we were also the hunted. If quiet mysteries like this stay with you, consider subscribing. It is hard, from where we sit now, to truly feel how fragile our ancestors were. We picture early humans as fierce, spear in hand, masters of the land. But take away the fire and the tools for a moment and look honestly at the animal underneath. We are slow. We cannot outrun almost anything that wants to eat us. We have no claws worth the name, no fangs, no armor, no thick hide. Our children stay helpless for years, far longer than the young of almost any other creature. By every measure that matters in a predator's world, the human body is not a weapon. It is a meal, soft, slow, and far too easy to corner in the open. And the world our ancestors crossed was full of things that understood this perfectly. Big cats that hunted in the dark, hyena-like animals with jaws built to crush bone. Bears, wolves, and creatures now long vanished, all of them faster and better armed than the small upright apes moving across the grass. To them we were not rivals. We were opportunity. So the real question hidden in the title is not how a strong species defended its place at the top of the world. It is something stranger and far more humbling. How did one of the softest, slowest, large animals on the landscape survive in a world that was so often, so patiently, trying to eat it? Let me take you into one evening, in a place that left no name behind. A small band of people is crossing open country as the light begins to fail. Perhaps 15 of them, moving close together, carrying what little they own wrapped in hide. Among them walks an elder, a man whose body is no longer strong, but whose eyes still miss nothing. And near him, a child, old enough to walk all day but young enough to still want to run ahead, to chase shapes in the grass, to make noise simply because being alive feels good. The elder keeps drawing the child back with a quiet hand on the shoulder. Not roughly, but firmly, again and again. The child does not understand why. The grass is golden and the evening is soft and the day has held no danger at all. But the elder has been reading things the child cannot yet see. A little while ago, a bird burst from cover too suddenly, climbing too fast and too steep, the way birds rise when something on the ground has frightened them. Then the wind shifted, and for half a breath it carried a smell that did not belong, musk and meat. Faint but wrong, gone before he could be certain. He slowed his step then, though he said nothing. And now, pressed into a patch of damp clay near a dry stream bed, he finds the thing he had been quietly expecting. A single track, wide, clawed, the edges still sharp and unfilled. Something large had passed this way, and not long ago. Something that hunts when the light grows thin. The elder says nothing dramatic. He does not frighten the others. He simply changes the way the whole group moves. They draw tighter without quite knowing why. Their voices fall away. He places himself near the outer edge, on the side the wind is coming from, and the child is folded gently into the center, where the bodies of others stand between it and the open dark. The child feels the change without understanding it, the way you feel a room go quiet before you know who has entered. And in that watchful, wordless walk, it receives the first and oldest lesson of the hunted, taught not in speech but in a single steadying look from an old man's eyes. Be still, be silent, stay close. Here is the truth buried in that scene. Our ancestors did not survive being hunted by becoming stronger than the things that hunted them. They survived by becoming something the predators could not easily fight, not an individual, but a group with a single shared mind. Think about what one lone human is to a big cat. Almost nothing. A slow figure, easily separated, easily taken in a single rush from the grass. But 15 humans standing together, facing outward, watching every direction at once, are a very different problem. A predator's entire strategy depends on surprise, on isolating one weak target, on a quick kill that costs the hunter nothing. A tight, alert group ruins all of it. There are too many eyes to ambush, too many hands that might suddenly fling stones, too much risk for too little reward. And predators, for all their power, are deeply practical creatures. They do not want a fair fight, they want an easy one. The simple refusal to be alone may have been one of the most powerful survival tools our species ever held, but the group was only the beginning. The deeper defense was not in our bodies at all, it was in our attention. The evidence points toward early humans becoming extraordinary readers of their world. A broken twig, a patch of flattened grass, the sudden silence of insects, the alarm call of a distant bird. To us, these are background noise. To the hunted, they were whole sentences in a language where a single missed word could mean death. This may be one of the strangest gifts that being prey gave us. It sharpened the human mind into a restless pattern-finding machine, always scanning, always asking, what does that mean? Always trying to see the danger before the danger saw us. That watchful brain, the one that still notices a shadow shift at the very edge of your eye, was shaped by generations who could not afford to miss a single warning. And then there was fire. Of everything our ancestors held against the dark, perhaps nothing changed their odds like the flame. We cannot know the exact moment it began, but the effect over time would have been profound. Many predators hunted at night, when their eyes ruled and ours failed. Fire stole some of the night back. A ring of flame pushed the darkness, and whatever moved within it, to a safer distance. The light let people see what approached. The crackle and smoke helped mask their scent and sound. And many animals are wary of fire, wary of smoke, of sudden light, of the strange leaping movement of flames that behaves like nothing else in nature. For a species otherwise nearly defenseless after dark, the controlled fire may have been less a comfort than a wall. A glowing boundary that said, perhaps for the first time, this space is ours and the night is not allowed in. Now return to that band as full dark settles. They have found a low rise with rock at their backs, a place where nothing can come at them from behind, and there they build their fire. But on this night, the elder does not lie down with the others. He has not forgotten the track in the clay, the way its edges were still clean. Somewhere out beyond the firelight, in the part of the world the flame cannot reach, something is waiting. The others sleep, but the child cannot. It lies near the warmth, watching the elder, who sits very still, his face lit orange from below, his eyes fixed on the place where the light gives out and the black country begins. For a long time there is nothing. The fire ticks and settles. The night breathes, and then the child hears it too. Not a roar, nothing so simple, but a wrongness. The small, constant sounds of the dark, the insects and the distant night birds, all stop at once, as if the land itself were holding its breath. And in that silence the child understands, for the first time in its short life, the thing the elder has carried for all of his. The dark is not empty. The dark is patient, and tonight the dark is close. The elder does not panic. Panic is for the prey that dies. Slowly, deliberately, he reaches for the wood they have saved and feeds the fire until it leaps higher, throwing sparks upward and pushing the ring of light a few precious paces farther into the night. He wakes one or two of the strongest with nothing more than a touch on the arm, and they rise without a word, because they have known nights like this before. They stand together at the edge of the firelight, facing outward, and they make themselves large, taller, broader, shoulder to shoulder. They begin a low sound, a deep rhythmic noise from the chest, the kind of sound that carries weight and warning. One of them takes a burning branch from the fire and hurls it toward the dark, where it lands hissing in the grass, a small comet thrown at the unknown. And out there, whatever has been weighing this band as a meal begins, slowly, to weigh it differently. Too many of them, too awake, too loud, too much fire. The cost has risen above the reward, the silence stretches, and then, somewhere in the blackness, it breaks. An insect starts again, then another. The night birds resume their distant calling. The pressure lifts from the air like a held breath finally released. Whatever stood at the edge of the world, if it ever truly stood there at all, has turned and melted back into the country it came from. Nothing was killed. No great battle was fought. There was no chase, no struggle, no blood. The band simply made itself too costly to be worth the attempt, and that, far more than any spear or any claw, is how the hunted survived, night after night, for longer than we can imagine. There's one last vulnerability that no fire and no spear could ever fully fix, and it is the most dangerous of all: sleep. To sleep is to be blind and helpless, and a sleeping band on open ground is exactly what a patient hunter waits for. So consider one possibility that researchers have explored, that the very way humans sleep may itself carry the mark of those dangerous nights. In a group of mixed ages, people tend to rest at slightly different hours. The old sleep lightly and wake before dawn. The young sleep deeply but on their own rhythm. The result, across a whole band, is that someone is almost always awake, almost always alert, almost always tending the fire. It is possible that the broken, restless sleep so many people complain about today is not entirely a malfunction. It may be a faint inheritance, the echo of bands who arranged their rest, perhaps without ever deciding to, so that the fire was never left unwatched, and the dark never found them all with their eyes closed at once. In the gray light of morning, with the danger gone and the others stirring, the elder finds the child, already awake, still watching him, having never truly slept. He says nothing, but before they move on, he leads the child a few steps to the cold patch of clay by the stream bed and crouches beside it, and he points to the wide track, to the bent grass beyond it, to the single direction the thing had come from and the direction it had gone. He wants the child to see it now, in daylight, when the fear has cooled enough to let the looking become learning. This too may be part of how our ancestors endured, not only surviving a danger, but turning each survived night into knowledge, teaching the young to read the signs while the memory was still sharp, a band that learned from every close call, that turned terror into lessons and lessons into habits, would slowly become harder and harder to surprise. And here is the quiet consequence of that long night. The child has changed. It does not run ahead anymore. It walks close. It listens to the birds and watches the grass and studies the clay the way the old man does. The fear it felt in the dark did not break it. It taught it. And one day, far in the future, that same child grown old, eyes still sharp, body grown slow, will rest a steadying hand on the shoulder of some restless young one and pass the lesson forward, without ceremony, exactly as it was passed down, the way it was handed along the long, unbroken chain that ends, somehow, with you. Because here is where that ancient fear reaches across all those thousands of years and touches your own body. You have felt it. The unease in an empty parking garage. The urge to check the back seat. The way your heart speeds on a dark path long before your mind finds any reason for it. We tend to be a little embarrassed by these feelings, to call them irrational, to remind ourselves there is nothing there. And usually there is nothing there. But that fear is not a defect. Years say it is the faithful descendant of the instinct that kept your ancestors alive in a world where there very often was something there. The prickle on your neck is not weakness. It is the oldest guardian you have, still standing watch long after the predators are gone. And maybe that is the real answer to how ancient humans survived being hunted, not by ceasing to be afraid, but by listening to their fear and turning it into watchfulness, and turning that watchfulness into a circle of people who kept one another alive. They survived because fear made them careful, and care made them cooperate, and cooperation made them, in the end, impossible to pick off one by one. The soft, slow ape became the most formidable thing on the landscape not because it grew claws, but because it grew a group, a fire, and a mind that never stopped looking over its shoulder. So the next time you feel that ancient unease in the dark, do not be too quick to dismiss it. Stand still for a moment, the way the elder taught the child. Feel how alert your body becomes, how sharp your senses go, how ready you are without ever deciding to be. That readiness is a gift, handed down across an almost unimaginable stretch of time by people who walked through a world full of teeth and somehow, against all odds, lived long enough to have you. We are the children of the hunted. We carry their fear because their fear is the reason we are here at all. And in that quiet prickle at the back of the neck, on a dark and empty night, you are not alone with your imagination. You're keeping watch exactly as they did, around a fire that has been burning in one form or another for longer than any of us can remember.